Welcome to the Avert Your Eyes Podcast, where we talk with some of the most creative people within North Texas and beyond. I'm your host, Michael Gibson Jr. I have to start off with a shout out to our friend of the show, Stephen Brody, who has a new suspense film out called Segfault. Shot in less than 24 hours, the lead actress, Shannon Lucio, wasn't given a script, a storyline, or even a character name before shooting the film. She has no idea what's coming. There weren't any rehearsals or second takes for Lucio. Everything in the movie is the first time it happens and the last. Segfault is available now on Amazon. Also, my film, Allura, that I co-wrote with director Nicholas Mothersbaugh, will be screening in Toronto at 7 p.m. on Thursday, March 26th, 2020, during the Sci-Fi Fantasy Film Festival at the Carlton Cinemas in downtown Toronto. A possible Earth-like planet, A-107A, has been discovered within the Goldilocks zone near a star. A mother, training for the mission of a lifetime, has to make a choice between her dream of spaceflight and the love of her daughter, whom she would leave behind. You can follow at Allura Film, that's A-L-O-R-A Film, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to see the trailer, behind-the-scenes photos, and for more information as we get it. This episode's guest is comedian Tony Casillas. Tony started performing stand-up comedy in Dallas, Texas during his senior year in college by going on stage and telling stories about his life. He has been able to evolve these stories into an act that has allowed him the opportunity to open for comedians such as Jim Jeffries, TJ Miller, Orny Adams, Theo and Bobcat Goldthwait. He is also one half of the Before and After podcast with comedian Parker Slavens, where they recap funny stories, news headlines, and thoughts they had during the week, and you can find it wherever podcasts are available. You can see Tony this Valentine's Day as he headlines the Dallas Comedy House. Tickets and more information about that show are available at dallascomedyhouse.com. I recently sat down with Tony, and we discuss what drew him into comedy, working with other comedians on the road, hecklers, and so much more on episode 55 of the Avert Your Eyes Podcast. Consider yourself warned.
So how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. We went on a journey. I got my steps in today to find the place where we're at. So I'm a little out of breath, but I'm doing good.
Yeah, today was an adventure myself. I went to, my alternator went out like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I took it to the dealership and they're like, this. And it was like $1,200 or $1,400.
Of course, yeah.
Of stuff. But they were like, there's this other stuff that needs to get done, including the brakes. And I was like, brakes are going to have to wait, if you're in the red.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so I finally got paid, got some time off. So I took it in to another place just to get a second sort of opinion. And they were like, they took the wheels off and they're like, they said your brakes are like 50%. You had them done like, 3 years ago.
Shit.
I was like, whoa. So they're like, no, but good thing you came in because like one of your tires is like really bad. So I was like,
no, okay. I love how, what if they were still screwing you over on the tire? Where they're just like, no, your brakes are fine, but your tires.
I was like, but then it was like a whole ordeal because I went in around 11:30.
Yeah.
And then I like knew I had to leave to get up here.
Uh-huh.
And like, it was a whole ordeal because they had to get the tire from the warehouse. The tire came in a couple hours later, and then the tire was bad. So then they had to go to another store.
Yeah.
And so when everything was said and done, like by the time got done, I had to run home, grab my equipment, and take off the highway. And I got here like just in time.
Yeah, I'm always, just anytime I want to do something, it's always like 7 things before. Well, I can finish everything, and then I'm always running.
So, you went to North Texas as well?
I did.
What'd you major in?
Film. I had a film degree as well.
Cool.
I graduated in 18, so 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I transferred here my junior year. So
from?
At first I went to Texas State, and then I dropped out of Texas State, and then I went to community college for a year, and then I moved out here, so.
Now, what was it with Texas State that made you want to drop out?
So, I left there with like a .35 GPA. It was not, because I come from a military, I was living at my dad's house, and he's very strict military parent. It's like bedtime, 9:30, all this stuff. And so when I went to Texas State, I was like, I'm free. I can do whatever. Oh. So I didn't even focus on school. I would just drink a lot and get fucked up. And then, I just stopped going to class.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I dropped out. My dad's like, they're like, you can't come back. And I was like, why? And they're like, you literally failed everything. Wow. So, yeah.
Now, was it just the partying, or was there nothing like attracting you?
Yeah, I was doing a degree in what was it? In, like, marketing, which is cool. Like, for me, I never really enjoyed it, marketing, and you're just taking your basics over again, and there was just nothing I can really like grasp on. And I really never took an art class really. And then when I went to community college, I took a photography class, which kept me engaged. So that's why I always tell people, take like one class, even if it's a BS class, that keeps you engaged. So it at least gives you something to look forward to.
See, when I went to UNT, I went all 6 years.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But the thing for me was that they told me I went undeclared for about 2 years, and they're like, "Oh, you can take any of these classes. You know, you have time."
Yeah.
And so I went 2 years, and then declared. There was like, "Oh, you should have waited on some of these. You can get these out of the way, bro." So that elongated my stay. But so I ended up going for film, and I minored in English because like I had the dream of, you know, writing for Conan or Saturday Night Live.
Cool.
But I was like, you know, NBC was, you know, the way to go for me.
Yeah.
That was my dream job, dream company. But like the more classes I started taking, the more I realized that you could write the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean A, it'll get picked up, and B, on the off chance that it does, won't get done the way that you envision it. So to me, going through classes, production was the way to go to have more of my fingerprints in whatever it is that I decided to do.
So your film degree is getting used.
Yeah.
A lot of time it doesn't.
I know. And that was an interesting thing too, because there were so many people who it seemed it was like something for them to just, you know, have a degree to just, you know, blow off being at school. And there are quite a few people that I went to school with that are actively using it, you know, out and about, but there was quite a few that, you know, it was just, you know, oh, it's just a degree, so I have one.
Yeah, they think that their short film is someone's gonna see it, and they're gonna be like, here's $100,000 to make a feature. And I told people, it's like, no, that's not it.
That's definitely not.
And honestly, after I got my film degree, I'm glad I started comedy in college, because after I got my film degree, I worked on some independent movies as like a PA, and it honestly kind of steered me away from film, just because personally, I think a lot of the Dallas-based film, just the experience I had, it's a lot of hours for like shit pay or like non-livable pay. They're making you do work that's not always safe.
Right.
You don't have health insurance. You don't have all these things. So I was just like, I don't want to do this. I would rather just do comedy and then make my own stuff, and then hopefully eventually get lucky, make it big enough as a comic. Then they'll be like, oh, here, you can make a movie.
Yeah. Now, I was kind of going about that route as well, where I was going to, you know, just get a job, work so that I could do film or whatever on the side. When I got out of school myself, I had like 3 jobs. I was like hosting at Chili's, like working at a department store, and part of the time I was in a warehouse, but then also part-time I was working for this audiovisual company based out of Dallas, and they would do anything as big as concerts or as small as like those corporate meetings that you would see in the hotels. And the biggest thing I got to do, they would set up, run, and tear down. And the biggest thing I got to work on was like a banquet. So I got to run lights at a banquet and tear down.
Yeah.
And I pulled them aside and it was like, could I get more work? Because, juggling 3-4 calendars
it's tough.
Is exhausting. I can't imagine what that's like for you working on the road and stuff. But, I was like, could I get more work? And they're like, this is the nature of the business. We schedule you all based on who hires us. And I was like, great. I get it. So I quit everything and got a desk job with an auto finance company. And I lucked out because the gentleman that trained me at that job, we got to talking, found out we were both Jamaican, and he went to UNT as well. Yeah. And he was like, well, what'd you want to, you went to film, like, what'd you want to do? I was like, oh, NBC's like the dream company I want to work for. That's hilarious. My mom works for NBC. I was like, oh, snap, that's cool. But I didn't like push him or anything. I was like, he's a cool guy, stayed in touch. And then, a couple years later, I'm working my way up and around in the company. The economy tanks. Damn. And he got let go. 2 weeks later, I got let go. But then he called me up, and I was on unemployment for, roughly 2 weeks. He calls me up, and he's like, dude, how you said you want to work for NBC? My mom has a part-time job. It's only part-time. It's not production. It's clerical. So you're going to be, doing a bunch of writing and reports and stuff. But she needs somebody that can read, write, add, subtract, all that, and, so I was like, dude, I would scrub toilets. Yeah. And so, I got in. I've been there over 10 years now.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I feel like that's lucky because
it is.
I did a lot of photography stuff in college. So I got lucky because I had like a photography Instagram and I'd post pictures. And then one of my teachers said, hey, we got this email. This guy named Jesse, he's looking for a photographer. So I met with Jesse's assistant. I interviewed and they're like, hey, come do a shoot for free. Just like PA for us one day. So I came in. I loved it because I love photo shoots more than corporate film shoots or because they have music. The vibe is good. So I did that one day. We gelled really well. So I started doing more photo shoots for them and then they sent me off on my own stuff. So like, that's the cool thing about being a comic and now slowly hitting the road is these gigs are like 1 or 2 months at a time. So I can work that 1-2 months, bank that money. I can live off that money for 3 or 4 months. Right. And then boom, I can hit the road during that time. And then when I get back, I'm like, any more gigs? And they're like, yeah, we have 2 more. Boom, they throw it, I do that, and then I hit the road. So I got lucky with that.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, so I tell people, I say, man, especially for like corporate stuff, it sucks, it's boring, there's no creativeness, but if you want to make stuff on your own, that's the way to do it. Take their money and apply it to yourself. Because I feel like if you do the whole film route, you're working as a PA and there's not as much money and you're just helping create someone else's vision, where I say, I can do the corporate route and then make your vision and learn from that. Yeah. So
you said you got your start in college. Like, take me back to that.
So I was a senior at UNT. I was dating this girl. Dude, we didn't even date that long. I'm the kind of guy, I fall in love fast. And it's like during the butterflies phase, I'm like, we're going to get married. And I really did think, I was like, she's the one for me. We're going to get married. And then she dumped me. And it killed me. Like, I was depressed. I was sad. And I was working on a project with my buddy Nick Fields, who we worked at NTTV at UNT together.
Oh, I love Miss Slocum.
Yeah, she's the best. And we worked on a late night at North Texas. We were writers on that, comedy writers. And he told me, he's like, you've always wanted to do comedy. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, come with me to an open mic on Wednesday. So we went to the Dallas Hyenas open mic. Me, Nick, my buddy Javorce James, and Daniel Magden. And it was mine, Daniel's, and Javorce's first time hitting the open mic in the Dallas club scene. Yeah. It was my first time ever doing comedy. I went up at like 1:50 in the morning in front of like 2 people. Did like a 4-minute terrible set, but I made one person chuckle once, and I was like, this is awesome. Like that first chuckle. Like, yeah. With my words, just my words. I wore a full suit. Like, it was bad. I wore a full suit at every open mic I went to for my first 3 months of comedy. I'd wear a button-up t-shirt, tie, suit, and then someone was like, you don't have to dress up for this shit. Like, you're performing at bars, taco shop. You don't have to present yourself like that. So.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, like probably my first time actually had to go back to high school, and I've told this story so many times on this podcast, so I'll do like a real condensed version. But I had a friend, his name was Paul, and he was a year older than me and white, and we used to call ourselves the twins. we would look at each other, know exactly what the other person was thinking, say the exact same thing at the same time. Just, we even dated some of the same girls. But so we were in choir together. Every year, they would start out, the first concert was Sweet Night, which was this big fundraiser. Everybody would bring cakes and candy and stuff and sell it as a big fundraiser. And the concerts were always on a Thursday. That Monday, I had an asthma attack. Never had asthma before. Yeah. And it knocked me out of school that whole week. So the next year, it was a talent show / concert for the choir.
And this was in high school?
This was in high school.
Okay.
And so my sophomore year, his junior, I was like, this is going to be my first one, so we need to do something big. So we talked it over with the director. He let us MC it. And so we wrote our own material. And so we did, my friend was Johnny Carson.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was Mike Tyson, who, this was during the whole ear biting incident, had taken the real guest out backstage and slowly throughout the course of the night was trying to take over the whole show. And so we did our thing. The next day, we're in the hallway waiting for class to start, and this girl walks up to us. She's like, you were the guys that did the thing last night. And we're like, yeah. I have to tell you, my brother was having a horrible day, but y'all made his day. Yeah. And I was just like, still to this day, I still feel like that's the best compliment I've ever been paid. So I was like, yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. It's like when you can affect someone's day.
Yeah.
Like in that, anytime, like, sometimes people buy your merch, that's nice. Or they'll be like, oh, they'll like repeat one of your jokes, that's nice. But it's that human connection.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we didn't know each other. And I could affect you. And that's honestly the coolest thing. I totally feel you on that. The funny thing is, I said I started, senior year of college. First time I went on stage.
Yeah.
Was actually a talent show in high school. But it was the same thing where it's like, I was a shy kid, I was a nervous kid, and it was one of those things where a buddy of mine, we were having a talent show, and he kind of dared me. He was like, dude, just go do it. And I auditioned for it, and I got on. And I just did, I made fun of, 2 teachers and our vice principal. And I got second place, which was cool. I told these stories. And it worked, and it won. Or got second place. I lost to this kid. He was like this 5'3" white kid, and he sang like Aretha Franklin. And people were crying, and I had to follow that. First thing I said, whoever put him before me, I hate you. Because you're making me follow an angel.
Yeah.
And so I did well, got second place, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should try to have an open mic. I went to the LOL Comedy Club in San Antonio, did that exact same bit, but no one in that crowd knew who my teachers were, my vice principal, so I bombed. I was supposed to do 4 minutes at the open mic. I got off after 45, 50 seconds. Because I'm like an 18-year-old kid dealing with stage fright, still shaking and all that. And then so I literally went home and just cried. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. Because I just couldn't. Which honestly, I'm glad I waited.
Right.
Because I think starting at 21, it allowed me to fail through Texas State and all that. And just build that maturity. So when I was 21 and I moved to Dallas because I feel like I wouldn't have moved to Dallas, which I think for me that was the best move. Is moving here. This has become my home, and to pursue it with Dallas has been awesome. So
that's insane. But it's funny you said that you won second place. So my very first time doing stand up, because that was part of our dream. Me and Paul was to go and wait till we turned 18 and graduated. Yeah. Hit the open mics and stuff. And so, he graduated and was going to community college. And So I turned 18. It was a couple weeks before I graduated.
Yeah.
And he called me up. He's like, dude, I'm falling asleep in the car, missing classes. I'm going Navy. See ya. He's been there ever since. He's married now. He's got 2 beautiful girls.
Yeah.
He's living up in California. And I was just like, so I ended up going to UNT because I was just like, it's close to home. I can commute and stuff. But that first semester I saw a open mic. No, it wasn't an open mic. I saw a comedy show advertised. Up in the Lyceum up there. And it was advertised for like 3 hours. And so I went with a friend. And so when everything was said and done, all the comics went, they're like, it was only an hour and a half had passed. Mm-hmm. So they're like, so sorry, advertised 3 hours. So open mic, anybody that wants to come up? And I'm like, I think I want to go up there. And this girl went up, did her thing. And so I got up after her, did my thing, and basically I went up cold.
Yeah.
But the only thing was that it was, I forget how many people were in the audience. It wasn't that packed, but there was quite a few people there. And so all these comedians were going out, and a bunch of them were trying to go blue, but there was this family. The dad wasn't there, so it was a couple, maybe high school, college age kids, and then the mom. But then this little girl who was blonde hair, blue eyes, couldn't have been any older than 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And so these comedians would lock eyes with her trying to be blue, and they'd stumble. And so I went up there, I called all those other comedians out.
That's
I just
great.
played to the little girl.
That's great.
And so I got third place, $150, and they invited me to come back out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was just oh my God. This is, that's what got me hooked into really writing.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool. And that's honestly smart, is your ability just to read that.
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of comics' problem, and it was mine too at first for the longest time, is you go into a situation and you're not able to read a room. Sometimes, because what show were you at this Saturday? Or Friday? You were the early or late show?
I was at the late show.
Okay, you were at the late show. The late show. So the early show was all sold out, 100% sold out. There's already this energy. Where the late show, I could feel before it was going up, there's a little less energy. So I knew I can't just come out just 100%. You have to win them up to 100%.
That was such a weird room. I've been to so many shows.
Yeah.
That was the first time I've ever seen somebody get out.
Oh, dude.
Oh my God.
That guy was awful.
Oh.
It was terrible. I think Bobcat caused a divorce because you could tell as I was in the back of the room when he eventually got kicked out. And the wife came up to me and she's like, I'm so sorry, and blah, blah, blah. And then the husband said, what the fuck did I do? And she goes, shut up, you've already done enough. And that's the worst, is when someone's heckling to make the show about them. Because that's all the guy, even during my set, you could tell.
Yeah, because he was, Bobcat was talking about his cast, and the guy's interjecting, how many casts do you have? I was and he was, it's a personal thing because it was that was a very interesting question that he asked at that particular point, but the guy would not stop talking.
Yeah. The thing is, there's a difference between positive heckling and negative heckling. There's sometimes when you're doing a bit and it's at the right time and they ask a question or say something, and that's fine. I'll answer it and then we can go on and I won't even get mad. But that guy, every time you're building up, he had to interject. And he had to try to one-up the comics. And it was always a not funny comment. And that's when I get annoyed, is when you're trying to make my thing about you.
And you could even feel it in the room, and even the rest of the people were hearing it.
Yeah.
And it just threw off the room.
Exactly, because it's one of those things. It's I tell people, it's everybody there, a lot of couples got a babysitter. They paid $25 for a ticket. They did 2 drinks. So they're there to see 3 comics. They're there to see a show. And then when there's one asshole just in the front, blah, 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 I make money, this is my show. It's no, you're ruining the experience for everyone else. And that's what I hate. It's just if it was an open mic and it was 4 people in the audience and he was doing that, fine, whatever. But it's we're at a club, these people came out, they parked, they went to dinner, all this. It's a whole night they're coming to see us. I want to do a show for them. I want to do my prepared material. And that's why I kept on just ragging on the dude, just going harder and harder. Because I was like, screw you, dude. You asked for this. And there is no barrier. I'm going to try to upset you, and you're the butt of every joke now. And everybody here hates you, and I'm going to make sure that they know.
Which is such a sad thing because, like, obviously he had been drinking.
Yeah.
It was just like, I don't know if he had gotten to the point himself where he didn't even realize.
Oh, he did. You can tell. Yeah, with people like that, you can tell. You can tell also because he had his foot on the stage. It's those people.
Okay.
It's those, those kind of people where they're like, this is my world. I'm the protagonist, and you guys are part of my movie. And it's like, those are the people I can't stand. Like I said, if it's someone who says something because they related to it, I'll make a little riff off of them, but then we'll laugh about it. I won't dig deep because it is a live show. That's a part of it.
Right.
But it's that guy who just kept on going through me, and through Bobcat. Even with Shiva, the opener, he said stuff. So it was like, even Shiva called out, goes, hey, dude, you're going to get fucked with because if you keep this up. So he knew, and he just kept on going. So it's one of those things. It's the audacity, man.
It is. And I don't understand how, thankfully I haven't been to that point. I've been mostly open mics. I've done some sketch and some improv, out and about, but I've never seen, I've seen it online. But I've never been in the room where it was just.
How does it feel like an audience member?
Oh my God, it was horrible. There was so much, the energy just did not feel right.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't, and I felt bad for everybody else in the audience. I felt bad for my girlfriend. I felt bad for the comedians too. Because I was just like, because y'all, you're giving your hearts, you're giving your energy and your material and stuff, but I just felt so bad.
You can even feel the tension just break automatically once he was gone. There's like a tension break, and everybody's like, okay, now we're back.
Oh my God. But then that Bobcat was trying to give sort of an allegory for this guy, dude, you need to shut up, because there was a situation, where I got mad, and we ended up, he called this woman some names, he said, and she was like, it's my birthday or whatever. Yeah. And so then, like, it came back around. It was so beautiful. He started off singing happy birthday when the guy started walking off and getting kicked out. And the whole place, just joined in. And I was just like, oh my God, this improv is so beautiful.
Yeah, and that's why Bobcat is so good, because he's a legend, man. He's been doing it for so long, and he has that confidence to do it. And it was honestly, this weekend of comedy was so awesome because I got to drive Bobcat to all 3 clubs and spend quality time with him and just sitting in the car. He was just telling me these stories about the road and about him working with these great comedians. So that alone, like, even take away the shows, even if I didn't get to perform with him, just driving with him was amazing. Sitting with this director and this writer and this
God. I wanted to ask him about, like, his movie, because I know he's, like, sort of put that whole Bobcat character aside.
Yeah.
But I was even, I grew up watching Police Academy and all these other films, like everybody else did. But, he did God Bless America. And that was just like, that knocks my socks off.
Yeah.
Seeing that. And I was just like,
World's Greatest Dad.
I haven't seen that one yet.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I even told him it's a movie that shouldn't work. Because, do you know any of the plot?
No.
So it's basically Robin Williams walks in the opening scene of the movie on a son masturbating, and the son kills himself because he's doing the autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah.
And the son dies, opening scene of the movie. And it's just him trying to deal with that. And it's a dark comedy, trying to tell the story of his son. And it shouldn't work as a movie, but it's so beautiful. It's so funny. And it's so pure. And you're like, wow. And it's one of Robin Williams' best performances. And it's just, that's why I love Bobcat as a filmmaker, is because he takes these plots that aren't mainstream, that a lot of studios wouldn't take, but he makes these beautiful stories out of it. And I think as a filmmaker, you can learn a lot from him.
Definitely. You definitely can. You've obviously been on the road and worked with so many different comedians. Like, is there something that you've learned from your time with them and being on the road?
Yeah, man. Orny Adams. I'm lucky enough. Do you know Orny Adams?
The name sounds familiar.
He was in a documentary called Comedians with Jerry Seinfeld.
Yes.
And Orny, I got to work with him. I got booked to open for him at the Addison Improv, and we hit it off. And he's taken me to Tempe, Arizona with him, and now next week I'm going to Chicago with him.
Nice.
And he's been just a cool mentor and giving me these opportunities on the road. The biggest thing I've learned from him was, I'm not a big drinker, but I would always, before shows, would have maybe one vodka soda or a shot of tequila. And I remember once we're sitting in the green room and it's Friday night, and the waitress comes in, hey, do you guys need anything? I was like, yeah, can I get a vodka soda? And she leaves, and he goes, hey, Tony, you can drink it if you want. No worries. But he goes, would you drink a vodka soda before going into a film job or a photography job? I was like, no. And he goes, then why don't you treat comedy like that? And he goes, I know you're not drunk up there, but why wouldn't you want to be 100%? And I was just like, wow. And he goes, again, if you want to drink it, I'm not going to fire you. I'm not going to judge you. But he goes, just think about it. Why don't you go up there, kill, then after the late show, after you get off stage, have a frickin' drink and enjoy it. And then after that, since then, I do not drink before I go on stage. And it has honestly, not a lot, but it's elevated me a few percent, especially if I'm going in trying a new bit or I have a new idea. Because your mind is clear.
Right.
Where if you're drunk, you might go into it and then you might have to step back or you might flub a word. And that honestly, it's a little thing, but that honestly has helped me a lot.
Now, it's been a while since I've hit an open mic myself, but do you see yourself having any of the nervousness before you get up on stage? Because I know myself, I may take a drink and have a sip or two.
Yeah. For open mics, I'll have a sip or two because it's different.
Yeah.
Versus a paid show. Again, there's a different vibe. But even if I'm doing a brand new bit that I've never worked before at an open mic, I try to stay clear-minded.
Yeah.
And I still get nervous. I do, especially if it's a brand new bit where I do not know. Because anytime I write a bit, I don't write it out. I think of an idea and I'll put maybe one or two bullet points and I just word vomit as much on that bit that I can. And then I say, okay, this got a laugh, and then I just start building. Okay, we have to go from here to here, cut this part out. But yeah, even then I want to be 100% because again, if you're not, you might forget something you said or you might, go too long on a subject, so.
Which is, it's funny that you point that out because I know, like I said, I've had a drink hitting open mics, but doing sketches, doing improv, never.
Yeah, I think you got to.
Yeah.
Even I have some friends that go stoned and it works for them, but just personally, I can't. Dude, stoned is 100% no. I get paranoid, I get freaked out. It's just, so some people can. I just personally think I'm better. And I don't judge people that don't, but personally, I'm just better when I'm 100% clear-minded. Just not a vodka, like a Red Bull and a Topo Chico's now mine. It's helped some.
I love Topo Chicos.
I do too.
Just discovered them about a year or two ago.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But where do you find the inspiration for your comedy?
Okay, so when I was a kid, my parents had gotten a divorce, and I was living with my mom at this time. My parents lived down the street from each other in Germany. My dad lived on a base. My mom lived on the civilian side. She's German, so my mom was working 2 jobs. She'd pay rent and all that. So she didn't have a lot of money. So she would let us download 1 or 2 movies on LimeWire a month. She's like, I know it's bad, but if we just do it in small amounts, it's okay. It's true. I think it's, you know what I mean? I think in a way it's bad as an artist. I get it's stealing, but it's still.
Go ahead, continue.
And so I downloaded Killing 'Em Softly by Dave Chappelle.
Oh, such a great.
And I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
So I don't even get the full social, the social, what's it called? Implications of his jokes, but it's just the funny the stories, the voices like, bitch, I live in a fucking trash can. That killed me. Or it's the baby selling crack. To me, I wasn't even thinking, oh, he's talking about the crack epidemic in D.C. And how the government put crack in these poor black neighborhoods. But to me, just seeing a baby selling drugs is funny. So that's why I love Chappelle, because even as a kid, I understood that it was funny. But when I watched it again as an adult, I was like, oh my God, there's another layer that makes it funny. So I watched that, and he killed me. So I fell in love with Chappelle. My mom bought me the Chappelle Show, the two seasons. And even as a kid, she bought the South Park movie for me, Bigger, Longer, Uncut, and she was just like, you can watch these movies, but just don't repeat them at school or in front of adults. And so that's why I love my mom, is because she's very free-minded in that aspect. She's like, these are words, and she sees the tools that comedy is, where comedy speaks for people being wronged. Comedy's a tool to show the light on these people being wrong. So I was lucky on that. And then I grew up, I started watching Brian Regan, who I think is brilliant, just his silliness and his fun goofiness. So and then Richard Pryor, I think, is as a storyteller, because I feel like I'm growing into storytelling, just learning his truth and those storytelling where it's like, don't be ashamed of anything. And that's one thing where I've had people come up to me after, they're like, you're being so harsh on yourself on stage. And it's like, well, all these stories is me losing because I was a loser. And I still am in a lot of aspects. So I'm not going to rewrite the joke to make me come out as the winner, because that's not truth.
Right.
Because if you watch Live at Sunset Strip, it's Richard Pryor losing. His mom was a pimp. She was a pimp, and he was working at a whorehouse as a kid. Yeah. He's getting addicted to drugs. He's setting himself on fire. There's nothing winning about that whole special, but it's brilliant. I think that's the biggest thing, and I'm sorry I'm going on this tangent.
Oh, no. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's my biggest thing about nowadays, with where you see specials like Nanette, or where she says, I'm never going to do self-deprecation because it's bad and it's all this. It's like, no, you're normalizing people with self-deprecation. You're being like, it's okay to be a loser, because we all are losers, or we're all going to lose in life.
Exactly. And that's what makes the American dream so strong and something everybody wants to attain.
Exactly. Because I look at the audience and it's like, I do make fat jokes, but I never want a fat person to feel bad in the audience. I want to be like, dude, we're fucking fat. It's okay. Dude. It's okay.
It's not, but it is.
No,
but it's not.
Yeah. But it's just, It's like I never, like anybody. That's why I love when it's a mixed crowd.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you can call out people, because it's like, if we can just laugh at each other, that's how we can come together. It's this whole thing. It's like, you can't make fun of this marginalized group, or you can't make fun of this. It's like, you're saying that they can't defend themselves, or they can't laugh at themselves, because it's always someone not a part of that group.
Exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's why I wrote that bit about, like, skinny people calling fat people beautiful online. It's because that's the thing. It's like, if we're so beautiful, you do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I thought that's so true. That was such a great joke. That was such a beautiful moment. I was like, you know what? He's right.
It's just this thing where it's like, that's what I'm getting sick and tired of people saying what we can't say, or it's, because I do believe in some censorship. Like, I'm a free speaker in comedy, and if it's funny, it's good. But, like, I don't think, honestly, right now, white comics should say the N-word. Or, because I think right now, politically, and just tension in the country is so high. Yeah. I think you're just doing more damage than it is good. But I feel like if there's a good comic that is white and says it, and it's a good joke, then it, of course, it breaks the barrier. But I think a lot of comics that want to say it aren't good writers, and they just say it for shock value.
Absolutely. So just even cursing, like a lot of it, people don't know. You know, I ran into some kid that was just like cursing. I was like, you're way too young, you're way too smart to, base yourself like that. There's a better way to what's the word?
Express yourself?
Express yourself.
I love cursing, though. I disagree. On that one, I love it.
But it tends to lose its value and its punch if if you're throwing it willy-nilly.
But why? The thing, I agree with that. If you're saying it like every other word.
Yeah.
But my thing is, with cursing, I think we need to stop saying, oh, that word is bad, you're losing the punch. It's like, if you feel that way, fucking say it. You know what I mean?
I get you.
Because I feel like that's the thing. That's why, TV is dying. It's because there's so many rules and so many censorships. But that's why people are going like HBO and Netflix, because you can just express yourself how you feel. Where it's like, I feel like the mainstream media is just like, this is how you talk. But then when you go outside to like bars, or you go outside, and it's not like, oh shoot, I just got fired. That's not how people talk. People talk with these words.
Oh shucks.
Yeah, sure. How am I going to pay bills? They're like, fucking shit, I need to pay bills, And I agree. If you just throw every other word's the F words, then it's like, calm down. But I think, especially like clean comics, there's like older comics that have told me, they're like, you're too blue. And I was like, okay. And they're like, you can never do the gigs I do. And I was like, which gigs? And they're like, church gigs. And I was like, honestly, you can have that. I don't need that gig. I don't care to appeal to that crowd. I want to do comedy clubs where people are drinking, having a good time. Anything goes. So.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to jokes and writing, is there a joke that you have written that, due to the times changing, is now anachronistic?
Or it doesn't? No, because I've only been doing comedy 3.5 years, so I feel like I started with this new time.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I think, I'm not scared of it, man, because growing up in Denton and doing comedy around in Denton a lot, you meet these people that want to get upset just to get upset. Like, I had a buddy. It was funny. In Denton, there was like this paper, or I call them a glorified blog. And at one point, they wanted to censor comics, where they wanted to start this list where people could report comics. So bars would allow them or not allow them to go on their stages, which I think is BS. You don't do that with rappers. You don't do that with bands. You don't do that with any other art form. Why are we getting a list to say these comics are appropriate for your venue, but these aren't? I have a buddy, Dalton Pruitt. He's in New York now, and he says some of the most vile, disgusting stuff on stage, but they're so smartly written that he wins over the crowd. It takes a few minutes, but then eventually it's so absurd that it's so beautiful, and it's so great, and it's gut-wrenchingly funny. But, of course, he's going to get put on that list.
Yeah.
Just because of one or two jokes. But if you just listen to his set, and he just, again, he's pointing out the flaws of the country with these jokes. He's pointing out. And it was funny, they put out this list, and of course, comics. We went on the list, like my buddy Javoris, who's this big black guy, goes, Javoris James shouldn't perform at bars, and he's like, why? Because and then he put the N-word, and stuff like that. And all for himself, he said that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But just to show how ridiculous the list is, because if you just put out a list where the people reporting the comics don't have a name, they could just report them for anything.
Yeah.
They could say, Javoris is offensive, but what if they're racist against black people? They could just say, that's why I don't want them performing around town.
Gotcha.
And the thing is, I think we live in a time now where it used to be, if you got offended by a comic, you would just not laugh. But now everybody needs to say why it wasn't funny or why it hurt them. And I think people need to realize comics do not go on stage to hurt. They go to make people laugh. And my thing is, like, it is your right to get offended at a joke. It is your right to get mad at a joke or not like me because of a joke. But the way to protest is to not laugh at it.
To not laugh, to not pay, to get up and leave.
Yeah.
Not heckle is...
Exactly. Because the thing is, all comics, we're so self-conscious and we're so this, that if we see someone, we could be killing 99% of the room, but if we see someone with their arms crossed not laughing, that's the person that sticks in our mind. So it's like, if you just do that, instead of going home writing a blog, I feel like you're not doing anything, or you just don't get the craft.
You don't get the craft, but then there's also, beyond the getting of the craft, there's, you're writing a blog about one part of their set, but you don't experience the whole.
Yeah, they can write, no one was laughing, or they just write out the joke, and maybe on paper it wasn't funny. There's no pacing, there's no epilogue. What if it was a callback? You don't, and that's the thing right now that's, I wouldn't say, it's kind of scary. It is a little bit, because I feel like we're not gonna get that next generation of Pryors, of Chappelles, of these truth tellers, because I feel like these young comics are trying to appease to these woke kids. And at the end of the day, man, the world isn't a nice place. It isn't. These kids think like, oh, we're gonna make these companies say these right words and appeal to all our beliefs, but you can't appeal to everybody's belief.
You can't. And I think it partly comes from that whole mentality of like, the whole participation trophy thing. I think that swing has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, where's everybody's great. That's my thing is, as someone who's like a little bit older in the Dallas comedy scene, I see younger comics and they'll come up to me sometimes for advice. And I'll give them notes, harsh notes.
Yeah.
And they get offended. And I was like, dude, don't get mad. We're just talking. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm saying you can, here are 5 ideas. Pick the route or pick none. These are just thoughts I had. And it's like, they just want me to go, no, you're doing great. Or it's like, no. When I was starting out, I had older guys like Lawrence Rosales. He was a great comic. He's a road guy now. And LaRon Wright, who's in Austin now, who's amazing. And all these guys that would literally be like, yo, this joke isn't good because of that. Or I was trying to do not woke comedy, like edgy comedy. And they're like, yo, you can't even write a joke about the drink on stage you have. Why are you trying to make fun of, this word or this situation? And they were just brutally honest with me. And I feel like this younger generation, why am I not working? Or why? It's like,
or they want everything just handed to them.
And it's like, dude, if you go to middle of America, they don't give a shit about anything we believe in. They're good people, but they don't have the same issues we have. They don't believe, we take our ideas and our problems here into middle America. They're worried about like paying their wages and having jobs. And they don't want to hear someone go on stage, give a speech. They just want to hear jokes.
Yeah.
And that's my thing that's honestly what I'm worried about, is just this mob mentality. One person gets mad and then other people just tack on without even being in the room or being in the situation. They just tack on because it's cool. And, it's just scary on that aspect, because I've been a part of a mob once. In film school, I just wrote, I feel like PC culture is ruining cinema, and someone was like, why? And it's like I had a transgender person in my class who she AD'd 2 of my films, love her to death, and she came up to me once and she goes, I'm having this issue. This is a person who's transgender who wants to make a horror transgender movie, this really cool idea, but she said she wants the lead's a transgender person, but she said the actor isn't transgendered, but that person fits the role. And she was worried that if she cast someone not transgendered, she would get backlash. And to me, that's ridiculous. A transgender person who's telling a transgendered story is worried about backlash of casting a non-transgender. Like, to me, that's ridiculous. The heart is all in the right place. Just because that person is a better actor, she shouldn't be worried to cast that person. It should be like, no, who gives a shit? I get it if it was like a straight white dude, making a movie about transgender, where it's like, that's not the experience. That's not how it feels. I get that. I'm not saying that. it's
no, I
it's the heart has to be in the right place. We need to stop just attacking. Yeah.
Dude, I could talk with you for like so long. We're
on the down spiral.
We're on the down spiral.
Sorry about these rants.
No. I definitely need to have you back on so we can hit some more topics, man. You were phenomenal. You were amazing.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I've enjoyed talking with you. But as we wrap up, I have several questions that I typically ask people as we wrap up. So starting off, how do you define happiness?
I come from a family where they put happiness with a numerical money amount. And the older I got, the more I realized they aren't happy. They think that's happiness. So once I moved away from that, dude, happiness for me is just doing something you love and be around people that you love. Because at the end of the day, I'm a broke artist, but I pay my bills and I'm around some of the funniest people that bring me joy, and I feel like the luckiest guy on earth. So to me, that's happiness. Just be around good people and do something you love, whether it's comedy or accounting or bank. Find your passion and do it. So yeah.
How do you define success?
Again, do what you love and always try to be the best at it and give it your 100%. Because I feel like if you do what you want to do and you just give it your all, something's going to happen. You might not be the next guy who sells out arenas, but you'll make a living out of it. And, yeah. And you'll be okay.
What has comedy taught you?
Comedy has taught me patience. It has taught me the value of working hard, because I used to be a lazy guy. And this is the first time I putting a lot of time and effort into something, and it's taught me that if you put your time and your effort, that you can get good at something and you can grow at something, and it'll give you something back. So comedy, yeah, I've put in time. I've lost friendships because of comedy, just because you lose jobs. I've lost jobs because of comedy, but it's given me interactions, meeting people like you that I would have never met. Just meeting people on the road, traveling the country, seeing parts of like Springfield, Missouri, I would have never gone to, and I love that city now. So comedy's given me a lot. So,
what would you say are some of the pitfalls in comedy?
Like I said, friendships. I've lost some friendships just because I have some friends that are living that normal 9-to-5 life, and comedy's not that. Relationships. Literally, I've been on dates with girls where it's like I get a call, hey, we need you to come fill in this spot. We need a feature for tonight. And I'm like, hey, I have to cut this date short. So, especially on this early stage, because I'm still young and I still have a lot to learn and a lot to grow, where it's like comedy is first and your life is second. So I would say if you want to be an artist in any form, you got to make that art your main priority. Or I think you're gonna be a hobbyist, which is fine too. But if you want to make it as a career, you got to go all in and just see what happens.
And I guess it sort of dovetails into what my next question was, which is, what would you say to somebody who's looking to follow in your footsteps and
be a comic?
Yeah. Dude,
if you've ever made someone laugh and you love that feeling, I say go for it. You're not going to be funny at first, and that's fine. Go up to as many open mics as you can. Watch the local guys in your area. Learn from them. Learn what not to do, what to do. Go to as many pro shows, because that's the cool thing. You go to like 2 club open mics that consider you a comic, which is ridiculous. Because when I was starting out, I was like, I'm not a comic. They're like, no, you can sit in the back for free and go to as many shows as you can. Watch headline. Even if you don't like them, or even if you don't know them, some of my favorite headliners are these road guys that don't have a huge following, but that are brilliant. Learn, write, go to open mics, become friends with people in your like starting with you, and just hit the road together. Do these bad bar gigs and just grow as a comic, and then eventually you're just going to get better and better, and it's going to become easier and easier. But it's never easy. But it slowly becomes a little easier each month you do it. And I say just go do it.
And then lastly, what would you tell your younger self?
That's a good question. It's going to be okay. That's what I tell my younger self. Because I was a very depressed kid growing up. Because it's like my parents got a divorce. And I dropped out of college, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Didn't have, like... I was never good at something. Like, I was a decent bowler in high school. But I was never the best. I was okay. I was always okay. Like, sports, I was terrible. My dad would try to throw me in sports. I was awful. I was never the best or good at something where people would come out and be like, dude, I liked you a lot. And, then I found comedy, and it's like, I'm not even saying I'm the best or that, but I hold my own up there. Which, yeah, if I could go back and tell younger self who was just worried what he was gonna do, it's like, dude, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna find it.
Lastly, is there anything that you want to say?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. This was a good conversation. Listeners, thank you for listening to my rant. I can get very passionate about stuff. If you want to see me perform, follow me at comedian Tony Casillas on Twitter and Instagram, or send me a friend request on Facebook at Tony Casillas. On Valentine's Day, I am headlining Dallas Comedy House, so if you're single or in a relationship, come out. That's going to be a good lineup. My buddy Sal is featuring. He's hilarious. He's a goofball, one of my favorites. And, yeah, I think tickets are like $10. So it's in the middle of Deep Ellum, so go get food before, come see a good show, and then it's a great way to spend a Valentine's Day.
Very cool. I love that venue.
Dope. And yeah, thank you for having me, Michael.
Mr. Casillas, thank you very much.
I love that. It became an NPR interview at the end.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
This has been Michael Gibson with the Avert Your Eyes Podcast.
And your weather report will be coming up soon.
That's the podcast. Thank you again to Tony Casillas for sitting down with me. You can keep up with the Avert Your Eyes Podcast or check out past episodes by visiting our website, avertyoureyespod.com. There you'll find everything you need to subscribe to the podcast, with links to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, and so much more. Go to www.avertyoureyespod.com and don't forget to leave a comment or review. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Michael Gibson Jr., and until next time on the Avert Your Eyes Podcast, consider yourself warned.